Plot, c. 2019. Far in a dystopian future, the human race has lost the sense of sight, and society has had to find new ways to interact, build, hunt, and to survive. All of that is challenged when a set of twins is born with sight. Plastic, November 15th. As Tamakti Jun's army nears Baba and family, Magra's past comes to light. Silk, November 22nd. Baba and family are betrayed. Queen Kane uses her cunning to face a new conflict. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over dramatically touching people's faces. And maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular generation. From tunnel vision to your television. And do they offer this movie with audio descriptions? They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen White Cane.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to Citizen White Cane, the podcast where both hosts are actual blind people. My name is Sky McLeod.
I'm Melissa Bachta.
And today we are coming back for the third time to the television show C.
Yes.
On Apple TV Plus.
Super excited. We're covering episodes 5 and 6.
Yes. Which is the penultimate 2 episodes because we have 2 more.
Yeah, yep. There's 8 seasons for the first,
Or
or
8
episodes for the first season.
Which is the only season currently.
Yes, it as far as I know or have looked on the internet, it has been renewed, but with the world in the state that it's in, I don't know when or if we're ever going to see the second season.
Yeah, it is kind of because I think it came out in like November
of last year.
Yeah,
it
so
premiered.
which would mean that it's really unlikely they've done too much filming of the second season or any. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll get an animated version.
Hey, I'd be down. That would be kind of cool. Why not? You know.
Sure. I mean, it's a new world it's the golden era of animation and the end of live action golden era because now it's all down. It's all shutting it all down.
I mean, as an animation nerd, or as I consider myself to be an animation nerd, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because we just saw the end of like BoJack and Steven Universe, 2 of the greatest animated shows ever made, and they're ended now. So yeah, it is kind of a weird time to now going to the golden era. But I mean, a lot of good stuff to like recent stuff to watch. Anyway, so animation, that's our little talk on that. But we're not talking about animation today.
Not today. No, we are talking about C. So, oh boy. So these 2 episodes. This is some plot heavy stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of I guess kind of like reveals.
Yeah,
of different things.
Extremely. And I mean, obviously spoilers for
right,
episodes 5 and 6 of C. Yeah.
So what, if we want to, now that we are giving the spoiler alert, give everyone a little bit of time to pause if they really care. Okay, and so what are the main spoilers?
Oh boy. Okay, so many good things. Okay, so obviously at the end of episode 4, Queen Kane has turned all of the valves on
right, which we did not understand why. Did we learn why in the 2 episodes?
You know, it was talked about, and now I honestly can't remember, but that was what I kept asking myself is why would she destroy the city? I think she felt incredibly threatened.
Yeah, she felt threatened because she was going to get overthrown, so I guess she kind of just just blow the whole thing up.
Yeah, if there's no city, then no one will overthrow me. She's insane. I don't know. I don't understand that decision, but she does. That's what she does. And the 5th episode opens with the city flooding, right. And the queen and one of her handmaids manage to escape. And her
you would
big
hope
puppy
that,
dog.
Given the fact that she was the one who did it, you would hope she'd figure out how to escape.
Exactly, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe if it was like a suicidal
Yeah, but they manage to escape, and they are on a beach, and a little while later, the queen and her maid are having a conversation on a beach, and they go back to the campfire, and she realizes after yelling and screaming for a while that their driver has been killed.
Right. Which, not like a car driver, but...
Oh, no, their carriage driver. They escaped in a carriage, yeah. Yeah. A really cool carriage. The audio description notes that's made out of old cockpit seats and dome material to make domes.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I just thought that was a neat touch.
Yeah, it is kind of funny that they built a whole different kind of car contraption when they had all these other kinds of vehicles. I mean, what was it? What did it? Why? How do they have it work? I mean, I guess not why, but how does it work? Like,
well, it's pulled by horses.
Yeah, just I guess the horses can see.
Yeah,
I guess that's the best you can do.
I've stopped trying to think too hard about that stuff. It's just like, I don't know.
It's so sad though, because it is like such a cool opportunity. I mean, obviously, I think if you really wanted to truly think through everything, you would have to do some sort of utopian storyline, because that would make a lot more sense and be a lot more fun to play with. I think making it dystopian makes it a lot less fun to play with, because then you're like, oh, but then any sort of ingenuity or like cool kind of accessibility things don't really fit, so you kind of just are stuck with like sort of a feudalistic thing, which is weird. I mean, it's definitely not the ideal area to be a blind person, is in a very kind of brutal feudal.
The literary person in me wants to say though that it's much more interesting to read Dante's Inferno than it is to read the last book in the Heavenly Comedy.
I don't
which
know
is
what
about
Heavenly
heaven.
Comedy is.
So it's Dante's Inferno. So the 3 books are the Inferno. No, yeah. Inferno, Purgatory, and then Paradise.
There's one on Purgatory, because Purgatory is my favorite part. Okay, I love Purgatory.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it goes I can't remember if it goes Inferno, Purgatory, and then Paradise, or Purgatory, Inferno, and then Paradise. I don't remember. The point is Inferno sold way better than Paradise, because nobody wants to read an entire book with no conflict.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's the thing about utopians, though. Utopian society, or not utopian societies, but utopian stories, is they aren't dissimilar from dystopias. They're just a different kind of, I mean, because good and evil are not real
right.
ideas.
Well, you can have a utopian society like the one in The Giver, and that society and the people who run it is inherently evil, even though they're living in a utopia where all of their needs are met and everyone is a community.
But they don't have color vision,
right? And
Melissa.
They don't. And they don't have memories of anything. Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's good.
No, but you need color vision to live, and like having color vision makes you a valid human being.
Oh God.
I'm just a very very militant. No, that's a. Oh gosh, that is a kind of funny argument to get into on another day. But with The Giver, but yeah, I mean, I think that though, like having the difference between a dystopian and a utopian is more like kind of the lens of, I mean, it is kind of more just like painting something with a different color, but you're still like, it's still only reflecting the actual gray areas of society. It's just like, if it's, the brighter it is, the more the contrast is different. You know what I don't know. This metaphor's not where I'm trying to do a gradient metaphor that's not specific to color, but like, but I don't know. I think that there's not as much of a difference in the morality of a society, and I think you have to have conflict in either a utopian or a dystopian story, but the conflict comes from, but that's why I think that utopian it's not real, and even in a utopian story it is still that there is still a big dystopian shadow. But I just kind of like utopian stories because I think it can be real. It's just, I find that the shadow much more interesting, because I think it's really easy to see to like try to see the good in a bad situation. I don't know, maybe not in all situations, but it's kind of fun to watch a utopian society and then see where the problems are. But I think they both stories have their place. But just an all blind society, I think it would just be more fun to have a utopian society, because then you kind of you get to play around more with kind of ideas about universal access, and there's just a lot more you can do with how you are conceptualizing the story. Whereas in here, it's just kind of it feels more it's because it's also not super sci-fi. It is, it kind of just feels like a story about, thousands of years ago, for the most part.
Well,
too.
we have this weird, monarchy system with Queen Kane. So maybe this was a utopian society, and it just, over these thousands of years, it has fallen apart, or it's fallen into disarray.
But I think it's fallen into disarray from cited times, right? Because they talk about the society, the only time they talk about this society being different is before the disease, they killed everyone but a million people and made them all blind. So you get the sense that that it's always been like that, I guess. But anyway, Queen Kane is now on her own. Her driver and her handmaiden both get killed.
They both die. They're killed by shadows.
Yeah.
And we find out that these shadows who capture the queen, these shadows belong to the silk maker, Cutter. That's what I was like. What is his name? It's super boring. Cutter is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she is taken to this, for lack of a better word, factory, plantation. It's totally run down, and
it kind of has a sweatshop vibe.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought too. Yeah. She's taken to this sweatshop. And forced to make silk.
Yeah.
And according to Cutter and some of the other workers that work there, she is not the first noble person to be brought to the...
Or I think she's not the first rich person, but she is the first noble person.
You're right, yeah. You're right. Not the first rich person, but she's the first noble person, the first queen. And at first they don't know, because she doesn't give herself away. And then one of the workers shows her kindness, and they talk, and she reveals herself and her identity. And of course, we find out that person is working for Cutter and is a spy.
Right, because the moral of the story is never trust anyone under any circumstance ever, no matter what.
In this series, yes.
There's literally never been someone who's trusted another person, and it's been a good idea.
This happens multiple times. Time. Yeah. So they find out that she is Queen Kane, and they treat her horribly. They beat her up, and they, force her to work. I mean, they're incredibly mean to her. And I kept watching and thinking to myself, man, how do I feel about this? Does she deserve all of this crap that she has to go through?
Yeah, I mean, kind of no one does, right?
Right. Obviously, yeah. Nobody deserves to have any of this happen to them.
Do you feel like, yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense as a moral quandary, sort of it's like cosmic punishment, sort of.
Yeah, and well, it's also kind of interesting to see where all of her silk and finery comes from.
Right. That's the thing about silk that always gets me. Such a good metaphorical tool, I guess. Because the silkworms, they die for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's and it is kind of this, it's a good metaphor for a brutal underbelly. I mean, silk, it's also kind of feels like a sweatshop metaphor, too. It's this fine stuff, and then it feels...
Yeah, well, I mean, in this episode, it's not a metaphor. I mean, they're essentially working in a sweatshop.
Right.
Super weird connection, though. Did you ever, totally random, did you ever see the Madeline movie, the animated one? One of them. There was a couple of them. The first one.
Don't know. If I did, I don't think I can remember that much about it.
Well, I don't remember the full title. It was like Madeline, blah, 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 blah. But basically the plot of the movie is Madeline is kidnapped when they're out walking around. and forced to work in an underground lace factory.
Oh my gosh.
It's super dark.
That's great.
And if you make trouble in the lace factory, you are forced to work on the black lace, which is they shove you in a room that's completely pitch black and expect you to make lace.
Well, in this show, that would be perfect.
Oh yeah,
no
yeah,
one would care
yeah.
at all.
Well, and one of the other characters who befriends Madeline is like, no, not the black lace. My mother went blind that way, and I'm just like,
How would you go blind from
What is
being in the
happening?
darkness?
yeah.
I mean, like, went blind, like, had all the good sensory information that we have, but then also could see. I mean, that's so silly.
This has nothing to do with anything. I just
Well, I mean, it is a
random thoughts.
It is a very similar scenario, an abusive switch up situation where and darkness are both things that happened in the episodes we watched. So, I mean,
I just can't.
makes sense.
I can't believe I remembered that. I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
That's really fun.
Anyway, yeah. So we find out that the way they can tell that she is who she is all of the royal family have an amulet embedded in their skin.
Right.
So they, in a very, very ugly scene, strap her down basically and take the amulet out of her.
Why does she have so many things in her? What is happening?
So weird.
Because that's separate from the dagger.
She's got an elbow knife. She's got a fucking amulet in her heart. I mean, I don't know.
Why? I mean, I do have birth control in my arm, so I can't fully be like...
Yeah, but it's not an elbow knife.
Yeah, it's true. It's like, it feels more cool. And, I mean, oh God, it's so weird.
I'm fine with wearing necklaces. I don't need to embed them in my skin. And I get it. Like, maybe they're harkening back to, something the ancient Egyptians did. When they mummified their bodies, they would add charms and jewels, and they would...
after you die is different.
Yeah, but they would put them in the linen, and they would wrap the mummy up. So if you wanted to get at those treasures, you had to get under the quote-unquote skin.
Right, but that, though, is different from, like, being alive and doing it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because then it's more like you know what it really is, like, truly, exactly, like, is, like, how you put a chip in your dog.
I know, right?
It's the exact same idea.
Yeah.
But we don't do that with humans generally. There was, like, there was, like, a moral quandary of, like, if we did this to kids, should we do this? So we could, like, track them to see where they are? And it was like, I don't really think that, like, kids getting kidnapped is a big enough of a concern to, like, fucking invade their privacy for the rest of their life. Seems really extreme, but I don't know.
There's actually a Black Mirror episode that tackles this exact subject. Yeah, I think it's called Angel.
I mean, how could there not be a Black? Of course.
Yeah, it's the one directed by Jodie Foster.
Yeah, does it make you think about how technology might not be as good as we make it out to be?
Yeah, I mean, the conclusion of the episode is we shouldn't do this. We really shouldn't do this.
I mean, for the record, I remember having a lot of conversations about this when I was 10 and being like, this is bad. Don't do that. That's not good. Don't implant something in your child. And I was 10, so it seems like it's not that hard to
just
figure
put
out.
bells on them. Like cats. Just put bells on them.
Oh my god.
Simple solution.
Yeah, I mean, or just, like, I don't know, give your kids the right tools to, like, help them be safe and and understand that you can't fully control what happens, but, like, that you can do your best to prepare them and you can try to keep them safe as best you can.
Or you can put them on leashes.
Yeah, that's not...
No, I'm sorry. I'm just being an asshole, but...
Yeah, no, I mean... obviously. No, it's yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Queen Cane is a dog.
Right. So they take the amulet out and Cutter sends it to Makti June with a note about ransom and to prove that they actually have the queen, because he's like, no one will believe me, but I have this, and this is like, so that's going to be...
Though she could still just, like, run away after he took it.
Sure. We don't know if she's going to. As far as we know, even after the second episode, she's still stuck in the silk factory.
Right, but, like, the second once they've received the thing that was in her, they know there's no guarantee she's still there. Like, it's only that she was there ever, but she could easily not be there anymore.
Well, because Queen Cane's idea was that she was going to ingratiate herself with the workers and incite a rebellion and escape that way and rule this little silk factory. And that did not happen.
Which, like, come on, guys. Why didn't it work? Why were they
I was really excited. I was like, oh my God, this is actually going to be really cool. Is she going to redeem herself? Are we?
No, but that involves, like, people gathering together in a communal way to a shared goal, which other than, even though that's how humans work, it's not how the characters on this show work.
No, well, and obviously Cutter had foreseen that she would do something like that and had sent in this other woman to spy on her.
That is more.
That's insidious. I mean,
True of
I felt
humans.
really bad. I legitimately felt bad for Queen Kane, because I was like, she made friends with this woman and talked to her and poured out her heart to her, and then to turn around and have her be betrayed like that.
Yeah, it is kind of funny because I have been like rewatching all of Sense8, and there is a scene in the second season, or there's like kind of a storyline where you also have a character who's who's literally in a prison, who is working at a sweatshop, and there's like it's a authoritarian environment. Obviously, it's in a prison, but then there's also like another person in the prison who like is being a bully about it, and then the two of the character that we follow and another character like who's very kind and like and it being bullied, like they team up, and then they're like, it's about like the companionship of the different women in the prison, you know, like
yeah.
like it's all about people like trying, like isolating what the problem is and like trying to address it by working together and having empathy for each other. But you know, yeah, that's not a thing that would ever happen on this show. So
No. So meanwhile, back on the ranch, we flip back to.
there's a lot going on.
There's, like I said, these two episodes are like plot. So we flip back to Baba Voss and everyone, and they are still trying to get to Jerla Morel and get where they're supposed to go. But at the end of the last episode, a trinket was stolen from Magra, and she's freaking out because she has to get this back. And Baba Voss doesn't understand why it's so important to her, and she won't tell him why it's so important to her. So that is what we spend the majority of the first episode doing,
Right.
is trying to get this trinket back. So they hunt it down, and we find that it has gone to this village made of plastic, basically,
Right.
of the Opile, I think is what they call the people who
Yeah.
lived there.
And then I'm trying to think, should we follow that plot or should we just get to the end of the Magra stuff? Because that's a whole other, because then it goes into a whole other plot.
I think we have to touch on the Opile stuff because we have to talk about Boots.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I was thinking maybe we could finish Magra's arc of that episode just because that's a whole lot that we have to talk about with Boots.
Okay. So jumping around a little bit. We find out that this trinket is super duper important because this is a royal trinket. Actually, when Margaret takes it out and puts it on her finger, I was like, wait a minute, because I couldn't tell what it was. The audio description tells you what it was, but
they say it's like a trinket.
Yeah, it's a ring with bells and feathers on it.
Yeah, which doesn't make it seem all that important.
No, but if you listen to the bells, they're exactly the same bells that the queen wears.
Oh,
the sound is the exact same. So that clues you, and I was like, oh, that ring is special because it's royal. That means, so go ahead, you say it.
Is Magris also the Queen Kane's sister basically?
Yes.
So and she was the one who is older and was supposed to inherit the throne, but then was Queen Kane like inherited it by force, basically.
Yep, overthrew her. Yeah, and exiled her.
Right. Which, I guess that makes sense. I guess. I mean, like, she won't tell. She was very cagey about her family, which is weird to begin with. I mean, I was kind of confused because I was like, I guess Baba Voss is, like, the head of the tribe, but then what does Magra have connected to Baba Voss's tribe at all? Like, there's no connection. Because I thought maybe they might have... I think they do talk about in the first few episodes how it's a recent relationship, but it's weird because it's like she's not carrying Baba Voss's child, like, or children. Like, she's not from that tribe at all. It's just kind of random.
She just wandered in.
Yeah,
and showed up. But
as a pregnant woman,
right? But we learn this is Jerla Morel's modus operandi. He's been going around to all of these villages and falling in love with or in like with and sleeping with and impregnating these women because he can see, and the kids that these women bear, sounds like 100% of the time can see. It
is kind of a weird. I mean, I don't know what to think about that. Do you have any? like take on that?
I think this is Jirla Morel's way of trying to bring back sight. That sounds like that's what
Right.
his ultimate goal is, because he's so focused on like sight is
definitely.
enlightenment. I mean, the last episode.
That's fucked up though.
Yeah. I mean, not giving anything away, but the 8th episode in the season is titled "The House of Enlightenment," which is where they're
Isn't that
headed.
where they're headed, yeah.
Yeah.
When they were like, we could go back to our tribe that's been killed, or we could keep going to the House of Enlightenment, the whole, yeah. But, yeah, so, but how do you feel like emotionally about him trying to bring back the sight thing?
It's interesting as a person who has sight, you know, who has a little bit of vision. I don't want this world. I don't think the answer is to force sight into this world.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the answer, because then again it starts all over again. You are putting one thing above the other.
Right.
I don't think you should put a sighted person above a blind person, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Each person has skills. Each person is capable. Each person can live a fulfilled life. They're going to do it differently. But I don't think just because someone has vision, that means they can rule over another class of people, or a group of people who don't have vision.
Right. And like,
We kind of keep seeing that play out with, you know, Hanewa, Kufun, and Baba Vas.
like that Haniwa and Kofun have like power over them as a family, which is kind of weird because the show does like, I don't know if the show thinks that any of the blind characters have anything over the sighted characters.
No, I would hope that it doesn't. I don't, but I think that's the dynamic that is being played with, because we see that, you know, Hanewa. It's the whole thing with the village, with the plastic village. Hanewa decides to go in and get the charm back because she's sighted,
Right.
and she can be quiet, and she can figure out where all the traps are.
Right.
However, Hanewa still kind of gets her ass kicked, and Baba and Kufun and all the rest have to come in to save her.
Right. And part of it is because Boots also has vision.
Right. So
And he's the only resident of this plastic town.
Well, yeah, so we should talk about who Boots is. Yeah, so Boots attacks Hanewa, and yes, and you're right, he's the only member of this plastic town and who also has vision. We learned that Jirla Morel is Boots' father,
Right.
and without spoiling much of anything about Boots, what did you think of Boots? Like when you first saw him, like, and we learned he has vision, and he's like, I'm gonna help you. You know, don't you trust me? I'm gonna help you. I don't know.
Yeah.
What did you trust him?
I mean, I didn't. I don't know. I mean, I think that the show is just so, like, it punishes people who trust other characters. And I was like, well, there's not really any reason not to, human-wise, but, like, not in this show, I guess. I mean, like, I definitely would have trusted him in that situation, but then again, I live in the world that is real. So I don't know. Did you trust him?
Oh boy. I wanted to trust him because Hanewa immediately trusts him, and Kufun is unsure.
Yeah.
And everyone else is also unsure. They don't want him around. Like, nobody wants him to follow them. And Hanewa is like, we can't do this. We cannot abandon another one of Jirla Morel's kids. We have to keep him around. We have to keep him with us. So I wanted to trust Boots, but I was still nervous because you're right. No one can trust anyone in this show. So I was like, well, if he betrays them, I won't be surprised. I will be angry,
Right.
but I won't be surprised.
Yes, which, I mean, he does.
Yeah,
but,
he
like,
does. Yeah.
I think, it is, like, a bummer, because it is just like, oh my god, we could have had a character that, that we, like, I mean, I don't know. There are shows where all the characters are generally trying to do the right thing, and, you know, trust, and there is trust, and trust is rewarded, and I don't know. This is not at all one of those shows. It is extremely the opposite. So it just probably seems like, I guess you can't trust anyone. Everyone's always, like, trying to fuck each other over, but, like, I I feel like Haniwa in that moment, like I usually don't relate to her, and I did in that moment because I'm like, yeah, if I found like a sibling of mine that was also blind, of course I would be like, yeah,
Right.
they should be part of this family. Yeah,
Oh
of
yeah,
course.
no, her reasons for taking him in, for trusting him, I think were completely sound. I mean, yeah, oh my God, someone else who can do what I can do.
Right. I mean, I
Yeah.
agree with every character who trusts someone like in the show, but then they're always, for some reason, they're always punished for trusting. Which, I mean, like, yeah, I guess like it's sad that sometimes in the world, like, trust does not get does get punished. That does happen, but it's, you know, it is still like, it's still a better bet most of the time to trust people and then kind of adjust as you go. But you know, I think it's, yeah, it's also like, yeah, it was just kind of it's sad. You want to like someone to be trustworthy. It kind of just makes you like, okay, well, whatever.
Well, and so while all this is happening, Tamakdi Jun attacks. He finds them. He's been tracking them, and the family is separated. And to protect them, Hanewa and Kafun hide Magda and Paris in an old tree. And Magda figures out who it is who's attacking, and she leaves because by this point she's gotten her trinket back.
Right.
So she's gone willingly to Tamakdi Jun to plead for her family, basically.
Right. And like, and then in that time, that's when Boots tells the family that instead of her having left, that she's dead.
Right. She's dead. He saw her die. Yeah.
Right.
So Boots leads the family to this cave where they can hide. And the cave turns out to be an abandoned mine shaft. And Boots traps them in a mine elevator and sends them down below.
Yeah. And there's like a bunch, it's very, and then I thought of Steven Universe because they're in the, like, Island of Misfit Toys kind of mind thing where you have all these people that have been forgotten down there, I guess.
Yeah, not only forgotten, though, I kind of felt like this was what they had chosen, because they don't go up to the surface. Like Boots, they use Boots as a lure. And I think they use him because he has vision and he can do it. And these guys have this whole tribe of people, they live underground. They don't go out. They don't go to see the sun.
What is the lore for?
I don't know. I think it's just kind of a cool way to show that these people have adapted. I mean, if you think about creatures that live in caves their whole lives, most of those creatures don't have eyes because they don't need them. They don't need anything to sense light.
Though they probably need food, right?
Sure. So they develop other ways to get the food.
How do those characters get food? Do we know?
It's never
Don't we
stated.
see them eating food, though?
Maybe?
I think we
Briefly?
do, but they don't really go on how they get food. Because the whole
No.
idea is you get, like, trapped in there. Which is kind of weird, because it does feel like... Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're blind, I mean, caves are very cool. Like, if there was a problem of, like, overpopulation, then it would make sense that people would go into caves, but they're not very safe places to live. Like, they would
Sure.
have, you would want them to be a last resort kind of thing, just because if there's or at least not in a place with earthquakes. Maybe I'm just coming from Southern California.
And we know the mine shafts work for the most part because Boots comes in and out of the caves.
Right, but then they're like, you only come in while they're
Right,
in,
you
which
don't-
I don't
you don't
understand
leave.
why they
Well,
don't leave.
The people who have adapted to the caves, they've adapted, and I'm guessing they just need new blood to like repopulate their population.
Right. They've adapted to the cave. They need... So then it would be like... They don't need, like... They're not, like, eating people. They're just, like...
No.
It's just for, like, keeping the population alive.
I think these people have adapted to the caves, and they don't want to go to the surface.
Just because it's, like, you can hide there?
Just because they've adapted. This is the life that they've chosen. This is...
Cool,
But I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
It's... I mean, do you have a guess, though? Because I was very confused.
I mean, I thought they were there just to show another aspect of blindness.
But people don't just do shit for no reason. I mean, there's always some sort of... I feel like
Sure.
where you choose to live, there's gonna be... I mean, just the fact that you can live somewhere doesn't necessarily mean that you want to. Like, you're gonna still... You know, there's a million places you can live, but that doesn't mean you aren't gonna pick the ones you actually want based on certain features.
And they have a conversation with Boots' mom, because we meet her. She comes to visit them in their cavern when they're trapped in the cave.
Well, doesn't she live there? Mm-hmm. Like, because she doesn't go out.
No, but she was going to help them escape.
Right. But yeah, it would be interesting to actually know. I don't think we'll ever find out, because when they leave, they just aren't going to come back. So that's probably
I'm not
completely abandoned.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is ever going to come up again. I just found that their whole situation and those people were kind of akin to cave creatures. And I don't think they're comparing them to cave creatures because, they're lower than, dirt or whatever, or human beings. It's just
that it's dark.
It's just another way to show how these humans are living, or how they have adapted to life without sight.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I still am just like, you could always, as a sighted person, you could bring a light down into a cave and live there. There's a lot of reasons other than the darkness why people don't live in caves for the most part.
remember the caves are also covered in iridescent bugs,
which are so cool.
That was really cool. Yeah.
I mean, and I guess, which though they're covered in bugs, so then it's not that they're trying to escape sighted people either. Because a sighted person can still see stuff. Mm-hmm. Though I guess it's like they can see less if they're sighted. But so that, I mean, if they really were afraid of Boots, which they are, like maybe this idea of like sighted people are trying to hurt them, that might be, it might be but he comes down. No, wait, Boots, they're not afraid of Boots, are they? I mean, they are.
I think they are, and they also keep him so distant. He's the lure. Like, he doesn't live there in the caves. His job is to bring people to them, but it's not to live among them.
Right. Right. Well, because he could see, so it's like it's dark.
Yeah.
But then why? But does he come down there with the people?
No.
He just
because remember the way the mine shaft works, someone has to be on a lever to lower it and to raise it.
Right. So he does that. So I guess he doesn't really interact with them at all.
No, like maybe once or twice.
He just like sends people. Well, he wouldn't. If he sends people down, he wouldn't interact with the people in the cave at all.
True. Well, and we find out that he's gonna, leave all those people anyway, because he doesn't like them very much either, because he becomes Magra's lieutenant. Well, also because he's feeding her lies that her family's dead.
Right. He tells everyone that the other group, between all the characters other than Magra, he tells each of them that the other one's dead.
Right. And he's also playing on the fact that, because he straight up tells Magra, he's like, you want me as your lieutenant. I can do what no one else can.
Which is C. Mm-hmm. Which is... Right, because now that we are assuming that her children are dead, which they are not, so...
they do get out of the cave. In this like crazy epic showdown, Boots' mom shows them the escape hatch. There's another elevator, and they manage to get up there, and then of course the elevator breaks, and poor Baba is being like attacked by all of these cave people, and he's trying to work the lever, and the fight is in almost total darkness. So thank goodness for the AD.
Yeah, I don't know how any sighted person could see that. I was just like, this is so dark.
I mean, I think that was a stylistic choice for this fight, but I don't know. The point is he kills everybody, and he has to climb the freaking mine shaft.
It's ridiculous.
Oh my God, it was crazy. I was terrified the whole time, though. He's gonna fall. I don't know.
No, it was horrifying.
It was awful.
Hated it.
Yeah.
It was traumatizing. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, I know.
It was definitely felt like Onward.
Oh my God,
stressful.
Yes. I was just sitting there going, come on, Baba, come on, Baba, come on. And the kids are up at the top of the mine shaft. Come on, Baba.
It's a very stressful. Wait, why were they trying to kill him?
They didn't want them to leave. I don't know. They did. All I can come up with was they didn't want him to leave.
But so that he.
Because they were new people that Boots brought.
But then if they only want them so they could procreate, then it really doesn't matter if they're dead, like, or gone. Either way, it's not helpful.
I mean, it matters if they're alive. You kind of have to be alive to.
That's my point.
procreate.
Yeah, exactly. Why would it be like, we're gonna kill you for trying to escape?
Maybe their plot wasn't to kill them.
It was just to keep
It was
them
to
there.
keep them there. Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, Baba Voss is crazy. Well, not crazy, but Baba Voss is like a crazy good fighter, and he's going to kill anyone and everyone that gets between him and his family.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because, and I mean, like, you might as well, because it's not like you could trust anybody.
Right. Right. Well, so after that harrowing climb, Baba does make it to the mine shaft, to the top of the shaft, and he is pulled out, and they're safe. And we're happy.
Yeah.
We're terrified, but we're happy because they're safe.
Because they finally get, which, like, God, rock climbing seems like such a nightmare.
Well, and he's, not only is he rock climbing, but he's climbing a huge shaft that if one mistake, and he's dead, basically, because he's going to hit rocks.
Yeah.
And can't see, so Kafun and Haniwa are trying to tell him right, or left, like the handholds and the footholds.
What? Okay, so this goes back to the question I asked before, which is like, what do the blind characters have that the side characters don't? What kinds of skills do they have?
Well, I mean, I think they helped Baba when he was climbing the mine shaft, because they could see ahead.
No. What the other way? What do the blind characters have that the sighted characters don't? Because there's like nothing. Like, other than like that the blind characters are not being hunted down.
I think the blind characters have experience as far as they know how the world works.
Right.
The sighted characters
they assimilate, basically.
Right. The sighted characters are completely new, and they as much as Baba and Magra want the kids to grow up and be the same, they're not.
Right, but they have just like, I mean, yeah, I guess they have society, but it's not a society at all, because no one ever collaborates. You need collaboration to make a society. So it's like, yeah, they can assimilate, but they're not in a society at all. So assimilation is actually kind of completely useless, because it's not like assimilation is only helpful if you're going to be collaborative. And so once you take that away, then that's not actually a benefit. Like, it's literally the only thing that being blind helps you with is there aren't witch hunters trying to kill you. That's it. That's the only thing that you have an advantage of.
Yeah. Well, and we know that blind people are competent enough in this world to rule, to make tribes, to make villages. I'm not going to say make a society. But to make all of that stuff. I mean, Queen Kane is blind. Everyone in her court is blind.
What does she
she's
do?
nuts, but well, we don't know. She
She
rules.
doesn't seem to do much of anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can fight. That seems to be it. That's the only thing that you can do. And on top of that, the sighted characters, it's like they can fight better, and they're always going to be in an advantage in a fight. That's what the show basically tells you that. Which, I mean, like, might be true. It's not like blind people are fighters. Like, that's still it's very unblind.
Right. However, Baba is a force to be reckoned with. I mean, Baba is tenacious. Even though Baba doesn't have any vision, he can still hold his own in a fight. I mean, I wouldn't want to fight him.
Yeah. No, I mean, he can definitely... Yeah, but we're not... Unless he fights Boots later on, we're not going to really see him fight a sighted character, because obviously he's not going to have a deadly fight with his children.
Right.
Even if they're adopted children. I mean, it's still... And he loves them so much. Like, he's definitely not in any way in his character. So we don't really know exactly how he would fare with this sighted character, because there's not really been any sort of opportunity to see that happen.
Well, let me tell you, him and Boots, my prediction for the next couple of episodes, him and Boots are going to come to blows.
Probably.
Baba is not going to take kindly, because Boots betrayed him. Boots told Magra that they were all dead. and Boots is Magra's lieutenant. So I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's obviously evil.
Yeah, well, Boots is evil, but I think Baba's gonna kill Boots. To be honest, this is how I think it's gonna play out. Baba's gonna kill Boots, or Baba's gonna try, and Hanewa's gonna try and stop Baba, and then Hanewa and Baba are gonna come to this disagreement that they can't get over. So, I think Hanewa and Boots.
What does Hanewa? Because Hanewa finds out about what's going on. So what does she think? Do we get to find out? Because we meet Boots' mom in the cave, and she says, "Kill my son."
Right.
And I don't remember what Hanewa's. Does she feel guilty for like being wrong? I think that might happen.
Yeah, because Kafun he doesn't necessarily rub it in her face or anything, but he kind of has this like whole "I told you so" demeanor.
Well, I think I mean, I feel like she kind of wilts a little. Like I think that there's a sense of like, oh, it's she's kind of coming to terms with the fact that no one in the entire world will ever, be trustworthy in any way. So I think there's this kind of like this hurt feeling that she gets of like putting, which I mean, I guess that does happen in the real world where it's very painful to like trust someone and find out you can't trust them. That's a real thing that does happen in the real world. But she looks but I don't think her first reaction is like, fuck you, this is totally wrong. Like, I think her first reaction is, oh no, like I thought I could trust this person, and feeling like betrayed and sad, but like not. So I don't worry about her like completely going against any, but I don't know. I don't remember how much of a window into how she feels about it do we get. Is she like completely convinced that Boots should die?
I'm not sure if she's completely convinced. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I would think that Kafun is for not killing Boots, because Kafun he's
a very pacifist.
Yes, yeah, he's the pacifist in the family. I'm pretty sure Boots is
like
going
the only reasonable character.
yeah. Well, him and Paris. Paris is awesome.
Paris is, I don't know. She lies too much. I don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah. I think Boots and Baba are going to have a fight, and I think Kafun would intervene only because he doesn't want to see Baba kill Boots. Because I mean, there is one thing that connects the three kids, Jirla Morel.
Right.
So, yeah, maybe that'll be a factor in why Kafun thinks that Boots shouldn't die. But we're also going to have to...
I think Kafun's going to kill Boots, and that's going to be the end.
There you go.
I mean, I do think that will happen. It seems like they're kind of building up to that, because he's so pacifist. And
he's going to have to...
Why be pacifist in this world?
Yeah, he's going to have to make a choice. That and Magra and Baba are going to have to come to terms with everything that's happened.
Just like...
Being separated, thinking that the other one is dead. And then they're going to find out that Boots is the one who set all this up. There's no way Boots is going to survive. There's no way. He's double-crossed too many people, and he's double-crossed the wrong person.
Right, and like characters are always dying, so it makes sense that he would die.
Here's something crazy, though. Here's something crazy that could happen.
Yeah.
So they're going to have this fight, right? Boots and Baba and everybody. What if Jirla Morel intervenes?
Maybe. What would happen? How would he intervene? Like to like stop them from killing each other?
Maybe he stops them from killing each other, or stops them from killing Boots because Boots is sighted. So that begs the question:
what if Jirla Morel is like a true like eugenicist kind of weird, like changing the gene pool kind of vibe?
Maybe.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, I guess like you think about eugenicists, you think more about like stopping people from having children, but I think I'm trying to think because like there have been eugenicists, I think, who it's like about impregnating people as well.
When I think of eugenicists, I think of people who want, what they're looking for is the perfect human being.
Right.
So
that's kind of mean.
Yeah.
But that's kind of we don't know actually, because it could be that Jirla Morel is just like, like how much of it is this is an endangered species and we're trying to make sure that they mate so in the future we don't completely kill off this, which is like that can definitely be a noble cause that's not necessarily problematic. But then to think like, oh, we need to as an individual, especially one with a penis, I'm going to try to impregnate as many people so that my, superior genes are like more present in the gene pool. Like that's when you're like, okay, well, you might be getting into problematic territory with that, but it's hard to say without really knowing the character.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe he doesn't know more about genetics because he gave the kids a genetics book in the box to read.
Right. Because
they're
the only ones who get any knowledge. They don't have podcasts. I think they would have kept podcasts if it's a whole blind world. Seems prudent.
Live from Queen Kane's courtroom.
Yeah. It's so they I mean we see so little of Jeremy Morrell. We've seen him like in like 2 flashes where he like shot something, I think.
And then disappears.
Yeah, so we have no idea what he's really thinking exactly.
Does Jeremy Morrell think I think the fact that he's impregnating people and trying to have all these kids with sight and trying to bring sight back, either A, he thinks that the world would be better off if everyone was sighted again,
right,
or B, he's trying to make all these sighted people because the sighted people, there should be
a balance.
A balance, yeah. I was going to say choice, but I'm like, no, these people aren't choosing to be blind or sighted. Yeah, that's how they're born.
Yeah, I mean, it's also hard because it's like, there isn't a balance, though, because they do seem to have inherent power with sight. At least that's what the show thinks. And we could, we could argue if that would actually be true, and if this was all real, if just having sight would be enough to give you power, and we do every time we do a C episode, but we do debate that, but I think that it does feel kind of like if you say, okay, well, if sight is going to give you all these advantages, then it feels kind of like, then it feels more like a Hitler-y thing. Like, we got to have more sighted people, and I guess it does really matter how much it is about diversity versus like you need to replace all the blind people with sighted people. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like there is historically been like really fucked up things where people have been like, seen a certain like, as my DNA is superior.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It was called World War II. I mean,
like the specific, because when I think of eugenics, like the classic eugenics thing is either like using genocide like Hitler, or which Hitler did that, and the other one, which is like also sterilizing people, or like forced birth or first like
people who are not fit to have kids,
right, and saying, or even just like there was this one horrible story about the woman who would like just trick poor people into giving them her babies and then would set them up for rich people to adopt. Like, ooh, cool, guys. Awful. Which I guess is like, I mean, it is, to me, that's eugenics, so it's technically not messing with the specifics of the gene pool, but like seeing it's more of
that's more nature versus nurture, though. You're changing the nature of the kids'
Well, you're changing the nurture, not the
nurture. You're right. Sorry, the nurture. You're changing the nurture of their circumstances.
Right. But it still has a eugenics. I mean, it still is kind of eugenics, because then it's like, even if they're not like biological kids, it's still the same idea of like certain, and I think scientifically nature and nurture are not really a binary at all. Like, it's a lot more messy than that. So
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't see how taking a baby out of the poor circumstances and putting them into the rich circumstances, I wouldn't classify that as eugenics. Eugenics is literally changing something about the genes, something about them. Because if the babies that were being taken away and putting into better circumstances it depends on Are they white babies that are being put into, you know, better circumstances? Are they, what is, God, how do I say this without sounding like an asshole?
Well, no, I mean, I think that it is also, you might be right, and it is a debate that comes down more to semantics really than anything, because I think that it is the same, that idea is exactly the same idea as like a lot of eugenicists basically are exactly the same, like thought about, you know, what they want and how it's just getting it is less about the gene pool.
Well, I think about, you know, in the future, designer babies, you know, you can choose you can choose what their eye color is. You can choose what, you know, are they going to be a great athlete? Are they going to be, what's their intelligence? Are they
talk about dystopia? I mean, I guess you could do a utopian that's secretly the most dystopian possible scenario, but like, God.
When you say eugenics, that's what I think about.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that eugenics, it's like, even without arguing semantics, I do think there are things that are definitely eugenics that are a few different ways of like doing eugenics. Like there's a handful of things that you can do for eugenics, but that one, I feel like, even though you might be right, because it's like, well, eugenics, what are the root of that? But it makes it seem like it has well, you would say genocide. So I don't know, actually, because I guess the genics has more, like, a genocide is not necessarily, it's people's identity.
Yeah, I mean, you're usually killing people in a genocide because of what race they are, or
Though it can be religion, which would not always be genetic.
Yeah.
Which that would have more to do with upbringing. I don't know. I mean, it's whatever that is, I think there is still, I mean, I guess German Morel would be he's more specifically thinking about the genes. Like, that's definitely part of it.
Right. I don't think he necessarily, he must care about the nature nurture part of everything, because he's although maybe he doesn't, because I mean, look at Boots. Maybe that's what Boots is here for. You look at Kofun and Haniwa, and then look at Boots. You know, two completely different upbringings, same father. They can all see, but they've lived two completely different lives.
Right. I guess, like, because Kofun and Haniwa have like the Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, the like dichotomy going on, but then I don't know what Boots is.
I know. Well, also it doesn't feel like Jirla Morel left like a box of books for Haniwa and Kofun. Like, Jirla Morel set it up so that these kids would have fulfilled, enlightened lives. Like, they were going to learn something. And then you have Boots. Boots has nothing. Boots was born, and then Jirla Morel fucked off, and
yeah, which
ta-da.
I wonder if we're going to get more information on why that would be different. Because why would he have tried so hard with one of the kids when he did the exact same thing in another village?
Right.
Was it that he learned over time that you should leave them with books? Was maybe Boots was the original child, and he was like, oh, well, that's fucked up there.
He messed
but then
up,
how how much older would Boots have to be if it was before the babies were even born? That he learned the lesson.
Do you think Boots is older than Haniwa and Kofun? I think
They say? I can't remember.
I don't think they say. I think he might be older by a few years, but not too much older than that.
Right, he doesn't seem like old enough for him to be an adult who like betrayed the village and killed everyone before the twins are born. But I mean, I don't know. It's not super clear. But yeah, I wonder why he just would have not left. Maybe you could see like things going wrong before.
Wait, right.
When he was younger,
right? Maybe instead of maybe unlike Baba Voss in Paris and Magra, Boots' mom burned all of the books. If Jirla left anything for Boots, maybe she burnt it all.
Right, because I guess there's precedent for that, because obviously we see through the story that like the fact that Magra does not want them to read and they have to keep it from her until much later. So it's obviously there's a lot of societal norms or whatever norms that you're going against. So that I guess would make sense if it's about upbringing, I guess. But yeah, it is kind of like, I think you're right that it is just like showing the different ways that this could all go down with a sighted character, or like the different scenarios. I just don't really know what the point of everything is. Like, what is the overarching message here?
Well, maybe once we hit House of Enlightenment, we'll
Yeah,
figure
I
it
guess we
out.
could be enlightened. Do you have like a sort of I feel like as the show goes on, like the stuff at the beginning I was really trying to think through. I feel like a lot of it I was like, oh, okay, so they're just not gonna care to really, go into it. Like I felt like I was kind of doing more work than the show was, so I feel like I've kind of stopped doing that much work about it. But do you have a sense of like the overarching like message or kind of idea?
I am
of the show?
hoping. Okay, I mean, well, first of all, the show is called C.
Yeah.
We are looking for the House of Enlightenment. Enlightenment usually means gaining knowledge.
Yeah.
And you can use the word see in so many different contexts. See doesn't have to mean vision.
No.
See can
not.
mean
Understand.
exactly understanding. So
Yeah.
and then you get enlightenment, understanding. So what I first thought the show was about, which literally was two people who could see, I think this show is going to be about, hopefully going to say more about being enlightened and being able to see or experience the world from a different person's point of view. I would hope that we come to the realization that blind or sighted, we are all people. We live differently. We experience things differently, whether you're blind or whether you're sighted. But just because you're blind or sighted doesn't mean you are not valued and you don't have value. A blind person and a sighted person are just as capable. Yeah, there are definitely things that blind people and sighted people can't do, or there are things that sighted people do better, and there are things that blind people do better. But we live in a world now, here in our world, we live in a world where blind and sighted people exist. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. It ain't perfect. Oh Lord,
We're
no.
doing a bad job.
Yeah, no, we're not doing a great job.
In a perfect world, our TV shows would be more utopian if they were all blind characters.
Well, they would all have audio description options. But
that would be even without blind characters.
Yeah.
They should all have them. But yeah,
more blind people would be more represented. So what I'm hoping that this isn't is a show about how vision trumps blindness.
Yeah, it feels like so far it is, right? Or do you disagree?
I feel like it goes back and forth.
Because here's the thing that I've been struggling with. How much of it is that we understand the reality of what blindness is, and we understand how it makes you a better person, not like holistically a better person than everyone else who's sighted, but like we know all the ways in which it can be a good thing and how you can embrace it and make it part of who you are, and that you don't just want to be sighted, and that we don't see sighted people as being just superior to us with no caveats. Like, that's our worldview, right? Both of us.
Yes.
So I didn't want to fully speak for you, but I feel like we've done the podcast enough that that's how we feel. And I feel like sometimes the show is vague enough that I worry that we're just projecting the reality onto a show that doesn't really think that at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, we're hoping so much that it doesn't. So we don't see when it does, or we don't notice when it does. But I really, really hope that that's not the case. And if it is the case, if we get to the last episode of this season and that is the case, then these people, the writers need to, and the directors and the creator need to take a fucking step back and reevaluate their priorities.
Yeah.
And do better. Yeah,
because it's, and I think that, and we didn't talk about this in the previous episodes that we've done, I don't think, but like on the show, or maybe we've touched on it, but on the show there are some blind actors, and I was trying to do some research before we recorded this episode, and like they're all very minor characters, and I think a lot of them have died already, and we do have... all of the main characters are sighted actors. Like all of the actual roles are played by sighted actors entirely. And then there was a blind consultant for the show, but no one on the writing staff is blind, so it's just a consultant. I mean, we got to do better than that, right?
Yeah, I think that's a step in the right direction. I mean, obviously, they couldn't just, in this day and age, they couldn't just make a show about a whole society that's blind and then not have any blind input. I mean, they have a consultant. You have to.
And I feel like, but for actors playing extremely minor characters, like that, most of which die, and none of the actual characters are played by blind actors.
No, that's sad.
It's not.
You're
good.
right. That's not good. You can do better. You can absolutely do better than that.
And there is things where, like, I heard an interview or like about from the consultant who's blind, and he was talking about saying like, oh, I was telling them that like you wouldn't look at people or you wouldn't nod because why would you do that? And he's like, which also, by the way, was the first thing I said in the first episode, was the nodding, and he also told them that apparently. But literally this episode, we heard it, there was an audible nod, and that the audio descriptions told us that there was that Tamaktu June, was.
You said it right. Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
I know. I was like,
congratulations,
thank you. But they say that he nods, like literally, like it's enough for the audio description to tell you as an affirmative. Which no. There's just no reason for that.
And that's either just. In the moment, that was the best take, and they're filming, and he happened to nod because, it's hard. He's a sighted actor. He's a sighted person. Sighted people nod. I have vision. I nod.
Right, because we do, because we live in a sighted world. But I think that there's like, and so you can say that that's a fair thing. But I think that there's also,
but they should pay more attention to that little stuff. If you are living in a society that's full of blind people, and you have a fucking consultant on set who's telling you. You wouldn't nod. You wouldn't do this. You wouldn't look at somebody. Your eye lines would be completely different.
Yeah.
If you really want to make it believable, you should try your best to adhere to those stipulations.
Right. And I think that, like, yeah, it's hard because I mean, I get that, like, nodding is something blind people do, and it's only because the world is blind in this show. Everyone is blind. That would just wouldn't be a thing. But I do think that at least as a blind actor, you have a little bit more ability to empathize with whoever you're playing against and think about how that's not how they're going to get information. And sometimes it does feel like it does a lot of the stuff you look at, and I just never want to be any of the characters given how little information I'm getting. Like, because they'll think about, like, okay, we'll have, like, a not language, and, like, we'll have certain things that, like, make noise or feel, and they'll do some of that, but then they just, like, then they just don't really that most of the time. Like, it's all very... It's kind of like it's the frosting on the cake and there's no cake, kind of. You're just like, it's just like, okay, you're just like adding, or like sprinkles or something, you're just adding these little things that you're like, that you've thought out, but like you can't, that stuff is way less important than thinking out the entire world and how the customs are, and then you can make it not language or whatever. But like that stuff, it's okay if it doesn't have a not language, but it isn't okay if it's like, if just the way that everyone's interacting with each other is so, like, would be so stressful for a blind person. I mean, we have just people are constantly far away from each other, and like,
well,
there's so many things like that.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to justify them or anything, but then you have that conversation between Baba and Magra in the woods before the fight, before she leaves. And he's sitting one way and she's sitting another, and it's just this whole conversation, and they don't ever look at each other, I think, until the very end, because then they touch foreheads or something. But they have that whole really beautiful conversation, and it's shot very intimately, and they're not looking at each other. They're just having, two blind characters having a conversation, being in the same space together.
Right. I mean, and that
seeing little things like that, seeing little things like that gives me hope. I mean, is this perfect by any means? No, but I mean, They're trying. Now, that doesn't mean, you should automatically give them a pass. Oh,
Right.
They had two characters who had a conversation where they didn't look at each other. Ding, 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 ding. They've checked all the boxes. We're
Right.
done. We're done here.
I just realized that you're the Kafun and I'm the Honeywell.
I
of this
think so.
podcast.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, it's not good enough.
Like, wait. They had one conversation where they didn't look at each other. No. Oh, no. I'm not saying we should give them a pass, but I think that it's amazing that we even have a show like this, that we're even talking about a show like this.
Yeah.
Something like this probably would not have gotten made years and years and years ago, because who'd want to watch a show about a bunch of blind people?
Right.
Now,
Maybe.
granted, I think it would be further progress if, we have another show like In the Dark,
Right, I
which
know.
features the main character who just happens to be blind, granted still played by a sighted actor, but
Right.
still.
Right, we have
that's
2
also
blind
progress.
characters. We do have 50% of those blind characters are played by an actual blind person. Well, there's a lot of like extras, but like of the real characters that we've gotten to know who are blind, 50% are played. And you have someone. I mean, I think that Callie Walton, Chloe, in The Dark, like she has. I would say probably already more stuff to do in screen time than all of the blind actors on the show combined. And we've only seen the first 3 episodes of In the Dark. So, and of course, they didn't just get a blind consultant. They got actual blind writers in the writer's room, which is like so vital. Like you can't just get a consultant, in my opinion.
Right. And maybe these people didn't on C because they're going under it's a fictional world. We can do whatever we want. And I mean, you could say that,
Every fiction is a fictional world, sort of.
Yeah, I know.
No, but I think you're right. That could be.
Yeah, but you could say In the Dark is much more based in reality.
In reality, no, definitely. I think that's. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe that could be part of the justification. Yeah, and I think you and I both would disagree with that, but you might be right that's like. That is a justification.
I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't have worked harder to have a blind writer or 2 on the staff, but they have a consultant, which is again not it's not going to be the be all and end all of everything.
Minimum.
It's the bare minimum, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I think it is just like with you when you have an entire world of blind characters, you would think you'd want mostly blind people in the writers room. So it seems like it'd be hard not to do that. Because then, I mean, yeah, even a blind person has to imagine what the world would be like. So you could and I think that is probably, you're right, and that is part of the justification. Is it's like even as blind people, we can say in the dark, okay, what would we do in this certain scenario, and that makes it seem real. And I think having blind writers in that situation makes it so it feels very authentic, because you're just like, yeah, I know this is a thing I do in my life, this is what it feels, just have so many more scenarios like that, whereas this is like, okay, well, what's the world even going to be like? So you have to completely start from scratch. And so a blind person, I truly think, would be a lot better at figuring that out. But, you can still justify that, well, everyone's going to have to figure it out. Even a blind person will still have to do a lot of, being creative and not just pulling stuff out of their life, because none of us live in an all blind world.
And all of that being said, I still find C more believable than something like blindness ever was.
I feel like, though, okay, so, and this is the lost episode, we're gonna have to do blindness again, because I think about it a lot.
I think so too. We really should do an actual.
I think
episode.
About blindness all the time when I watch C, though.
Okay,
because it's a very, and to, just kind of summarize it, because we haven't done an episode on it, but it is also something where you have a bunch of characters who go blind, but instead of being years after this disease has hit everyone, it's during the as it happened. So you're seeing these characters very newly blind, but it is the same thing. No one can trust each other. It's just there's just an extreme brutality, and
right. It's like taking away vision, immediately we turn back into animals.
Right, exactly. Which, I
Like,
mean, C is saying that. It's just giving you the distance so you don't have to really, so it's not as obvious. But it's kind of saying the same thing. Because we don't get the sense that the society has deteriorated, which, I mean, granted, if it is be deteriorated once everyone went blind, that wouldn't be a great message either. But, like, you know, we get the sense that this is kind of, like, it's been like this since everyone went blind. Like, that there isn't another event that made it become like this.
I do kind of consider I do kind of consider blindness like proto C. I mean, like, this is what happened before. But although I mean, blindness is ending, but we should probably save that for when we actually talk about blindness.
Yeah.
Which means we'll have to rewatch Blindness.
Oh my God.
Anyway, just think about Mark Ruffalo and Julianne Moore, and everything will be fine.
That'll be fine.
Yeah,
Mark Ruffalo's great.
But
yeah, no, and so I think if you had more blind people writing it, you could fall into less of those traps. And you can also just understand how the ways in which blind people could be more capable, because I really don't think there's any scenario in the show where a blind person truly is advantaged over the sighted characters. Other than the societal norms.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, maybe the creator of the show, Stephen Knight, by the way, is his name. I don't think we've said his name. Stephen Knight. He created the show. Maybe, hopefully, Stephen Knight sat down with a blind brain trust. You know, it was like, hey, I'm making this world, or like blind visually impaired brain trust. You know, I'm making this world, and this is what I want to do. How would this be achieved? And maybe
that's
he didn't.
Probably what happened.
I don't know.
I mean, that is probably more
so.
likely. But I think that's the wrong way to do it. I think you need to get a blind person there to come up with how the world would be, and then you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. But I mean, I think you can't have. It's like, this is what I think about accessibility in general. It's like, it's like why voiceover is infuriating, because it's like you can't just put accessibility over something. Like, to make something truly accessible, you have to think about, like, accessibility before you start making an app. And I think that is a mistake that is always made when you're talking about, like, disability and universal access. It's not accessibility is never an afterthought. It should always be at the beginning, and you're going to make stuff that's better for everyone. Like, it's just the smarter way to do it, and not just for disabled people. Like, it's just smarter to think about the world in that way, and it's going to make better products, and I think it also makes better TV, and especially if you're going to have these just, so many blind characters. The fact that a blind person wasn't there to kind of really shape how the narrative was going to go, I think is a big mistake. But I don't know.
Oof.
We got 2 more episodes of this.
We can do it.
Home stretch.
So much. Oh my God. Yeah, no, all of this being said, I'm still enjoying myself. Every time we have to watch 2 more episodes, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, we have to watch 2 more episodes of this show. But then I start this show, and I'm like immediately sucked back into the story. And I was like, wow, I can't believe I was so grumpy or put out because we had to watch this show. This is actually a really good show. Well, that's good. So this is actually a really interesting show.
It's like TV, basically. It has that, like, TV kind of has, what would be a good analogy? It's kind of like the sugar, like, of plot devices. Like, because it's just like when TV is always just like, you're just like, oh, this is like a dessert. Like, because it's just all this attention grabbing things, like, a TV is manufactured to be like, well, I guess a confectioner treat.
Yeah, I mean, I guess then you can start dividing, like, TV and food into different categories. I mean, you have, like, comfort food shows, right, like, which could be your sitcoms or whatever shows make you feel good. And then you have your, like, peak TV shows, because we're in the golden age of TV
that are
right
dark
now.
Chocolate.
Yeah, and really make you think, or make you feel some type of way. I mean, shows like Breaking Bad, I love that show. That show's amazing. I can only watch maybe 2 or 3 episodes at a time because
but it's like
it's
Sour
so
Patch
intense.
Kids.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just too sweet. It's just too much. Because, I mean, the sweetness is just, like, every second something has to happen. And you have to constantly have cliffhangers. And you have to constantly, like, you know, be like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? And it is like, I don't think it's a bad thing. I love like a lot of sugary foods, and I love a lot of TV. Those are two of my favorite things, is sugary foods and TV. And it's and I think it's not an unhealthy coping mechanism.
No, not at all.
And self-care thing.
Especially right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of great sugar in the world right now. It's like peak, like vegan cupcakes, so good. But yeah, no, it's and peak TV obviously. But I do think that is like a TV thing, and it is different with movies, like but it is just like a way that the writing is structured, and that is just an industry thing. But like the fact that in TV, it is very addictive, and I'll watch shows where I'm like very aware that I'm like, I know that I'm continuing to watch this because it's doing the TV thing where it's making me continue to want to watch this. And even though like I am, you know, I usually don't start shows that I don't want to keep watching, but especially with ones that aren't like sitcoms where it's, you know, they put the toys back, like especially with the, you know, streaming stuff and prestige TV where it is so continuous, like it's just manufactured to make you don't want to keep going.
Well, with a lot of prestige TV, now that the US has finally adopted the UK way of doing different seasons or series, it's basically a movie chopped up into 8 parts. But that's all it is.
But it is a movie with way more kind of like what would be the right word? Like it's kind of like it's sped up. Like something has to happen in every. Well, I guess now with all these superhero movies,
it's more. TV is much more. They can take these movies that instead of having 2 hours to tell a story or whatever, you have 8 hours to tell your story. So you can get more into like the nuances of characters and the situations that they get into and backstory and everything. Where as in a movie, you have to be real precise with what story you're trying to tell.
Right, but the thing is though, when it comes to how it's structured with TV, and I think that, like, I mean, you can argue that now this is, well, no, because like movies are generally most of the money they're going to make is going to be as ticket sales. And for TV, most, like, it's really just about attention. Like, they're built in different ways to accommodate that. Like, if you have a 2-hour movie, you can just do a lot more, like, just kind of setting things up, or like stuff that isn't super engaging on its own, because unlike a TV show, if I watch the first 10 minutes of a TV show, I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm just gonna go away, which is why I'll start watching a movie and I'll be like, oh right, this isn't TV, like now I want to go check my email. Like, I'm just not whereas if you're in a movie theater, you're not gonna go check your email or like turn it off and get dinner or whatever, you know. So it's just like the incentives are so different, and that is kind of in the industry how they're written differently. And so I think that with it's just like it's written like a TV show so that you kind of keep wanting to be watching, so you don't like click away. Basically.
Absolutely. No, each episode ends with a cliffhanger, and I'm always like, okay, I need to find out more. I need to find out what's going to happen. And I hate to keep coming back to Breaking Bad, but it's just like if Breaking Bad were a 2-hour movie, 2.5-hour movie or whatever, I don't think you would be nearly as attached to any of those characters as we are now in pop culture, because we have spent
I agree
5
with that too.
seasons with them.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely true as well. And I think that I mean, yeah, I think there is kind of it kind of goes more to what is the familiarity bias, that you just like, that just by having more exposure to a person makes you like them more. Like, even if they don't do anything that makes you like, I mean, I imagine if they're like abusive, you probably, that would backfire, that would not help.
Well, oh God, I can't stop talking about Breaking Bad, but maybe Breaking Bad works on that premise because Walter White is an asshole. Walter White is a despicable, morally irreprehensible human being, but we can't stop watching.
Right. Well, but it's because of that. It's because of the way the plot works.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why you'll get shows that have been on for 7 years. You're like, oh my God, I can't even imagine having a lifetime where all this shit happens. Like, it's just so much stuff has happened in 7 years. Because you're like, it's kind of more dense than a movie would be, with plot. And then it's also like on for longer. But I do think, Yeah, I mean, I think with C, though, I have to admit, I am sometimes more surprised at when it's not working for me. Because, like, yeah, I'm always like, sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm getting into that TV zone, like that state of flow where you want to keep watching a television show. It is technically a state of flow. Like they're trying to, actually in my intro to TV class, we talked about flow specifically as like how TV works is like you talk a lot about flow, and it's also what you talk about when you talk about psychology. So it's a really interesting combination, and I feel they are kind of the same idea, really. But it's always weird to me because sometimes C will get me in that place, but then like most of the time I'm not as much in them. Like I can still watch it, it's not like a chore entirely, but sometimes like at the end of the episode they don't always end on I don't know, sometimes I'm like, do I care enough? It's kind of like Westworld. I watched all the episodes up until like the of the first season, up until the last episode, just the first season, and then I was just like, I caught up because it was like the week before the last episode was going to air of the season, and then in that week I was like, I don't care anymore. I just lost interest.
No, I've done the same thing. I watched the entire first season of Westworld like on just pins and needles because I was like, this is so cool. And then I got to the second season and I got 2 episodes in and I was like, wow, I do not care.
Yeah,
I have no desire whatsoever. But I'm a picky eater, and with food in general. Right. But I'm also a picky eater with TV. I mean, especially now that we live in the age of streaming, or I specifically do because I don't own a TV. I can call up whatever I want to watch. I don't have time to waste on shit TV, on trash TV. Like I just don't have time. I don't have time.
I think but it is kind of interesting because it's always in those down moments that like, so I think that because you can kind of get sucked into a show and then it's like once you have to go to bed or whatever and you wake up and you're like, I don't care about this anymore. You know, like it's that like kind of, which is why they structure it so that you want to keep watching the next episode. But yeah, I'm excited that we have 2 more episodes. I've kind of lost a lot of faith in the show. You know, at this point they can't just start trusting each other, so I think I have to just be like, yeah, okay, that's something that's lost me, and that's like whatever.
Here's the real question. No matter how the first season ends, let's just say that they put the second season out, or they managed to film it all before the pandemic happened or whatever, and they put it out. Do we keep watching the show, or do we keep covering it? I
mean, I think that here's what I'm thinking: the likelihood of them having filmed it, I still think is pretty slim, given that it was March and that it came out in November, so it's very unlikely they filmed anything. Which means that we're not going to have another season for a long time. And we have 2 more episodes of this season. So it's probably going to be a good year at the least between when they start airing a new season and when we finish the first season. So because of that, I think that the likelihood of me being ready to come back to it at that point to talk about it on the podcast, I think it's probably likely that I think having that space will help me be more willing to kind of come back to it. I think if it was like in the dark and there was 2 seasons already aired, then at this point I would just be like, I'm exhausted. Like we haven't even reached the halfway point. But I think the fact that we have such a long time in between the 2 seasons is going to make it easier to come back to it. What about you?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, I do. I still want to keep going on and talking about this show. Most definitely. I'm just not sure. They say there's going to be another season, but I don't know. Like if the pandemic stopped the filming, I'm not sure if they would even come back to it if they had the opportunity, because I mean it's streaming. So, and the cool thing about streaming is you can have these niche shows, because it doesn't matter if 3 million people are watching your show. It's fine. Right. But I hear nothing about C in like the cultural consciousness. Yeah, maybe I'm just not running in the right circles. I don't know.
I mean, I tell people I have a podcast about blind characters in the media, so I have been told about it. But if I did not tell anyone that, I think I probably would not have heard anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I know about the show existence is because I love watching all those Apple keynote things, and that in the summer of last year, that was all they wanted to talk about, and they brought Jason Momoa on to introduce the show and everything. And I was like, well, it's got Jason Momoa and it's about blind people, so hot damn, sign me up. And I'm not angry. I'm not I'm not disappointed. I'm frustrated. But I think that's with any TV show. I mean, I don't think there is a. Well, I was going to say I don't think there's a perfect show out there. That's not true. I would say Steven Universe and Gravity Falls, I think, are just. I think they're perfect shows. But
Yeah.
But. This is not that.
I mean,
so.
this is a time where if you want to see good examples of what to strive for in TV, they're out there. I mean, I guess you have an excuse. Everyone's just human, but we have high bars now. We can be very picky about our shows. But I think, you know what could happen? Apple TV could just not be a thing anymore. Because I feel like Apple TV has also made no impact on the culture, which is probably part of the reason why C has made no impact on the culture.
I think that's the joke. It's like, oh, you're on Apple TV? Oh.
It's not real.
Whatever.
No, now we have like Quibi and what are the other things people make
fuck
fun of?
Quibi. I'm sorry. I'm gonna come out right now.
Hot take.
Fuck my hot take on Quibi. Fuck Quibi.
No one has been saying this.
Stupid. So I got it because it was free because they were pimping it out like, get 3 months free. I did not renew after, obviously. I think I got rid of the app. I watched it maybe twice and then I never watched it again. And then I finally got rid of the app. The only reason I got it is because I wanted to see Sasha Velour's show, Nightgowns. So I watched that. That was really cool. I am not a fan of this, like, here's a movie, but we're only going to give you 10 minutes of it.
It's dumb.
No
one likes it.
No. And they're like, it's like YouTube, but for celebrities. And everybody has their own show. And I'm just like, that already exists. It's called Funny or Die.
Well, it's also called YouTube.
And it's YouTube, yeah. And I'm
there's like a billion trillion hours of stuff gets posted each day or whatever.
Yeah. And it doesn't cost you anything to watch. I don't see the appeal. I think it's stupid.
It is definitely, it's like the just the Comic Sans of streaming platforms, just like the thing that's only there so that people can ridicule it, and there's no real reason.
As far as I know, and again, don't quote me on this because I haven't checked Quibi in a while, checked what's happening with them in a little while, but last time I looked, they were losing a lot of money.
Makes sense, kind of the movie pass.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be around
for
much longer.
They're probably not, but
movie pass.
Oh my gosh, the internet, man. There's so much.
Oh, so good when it started. And then just like not even a year. I had Movie Pass for all of 6 months.
Oh wow. My parents had it like, I think, because they were very early on, but they were like, this doesn't make any sense. How did they make money? They were like, this is not going to last because this is not a thing where someone could make money off of this.
Here's the answer to that question. How do they make money? They don't.
Yeah. Which my parents were like, we'll take it, but we are very much not going to depend on this being around for much longer.
Nope. I now subscribe to Regal Crown Club. Because I pay $21 a month and I can see movies as many times as I want,
right?
Whenever I want. So I'm like,
now,
cool.
Sadly.
No, my account is frozen. Although update, the movie theaters apparently Regal at least they're gonna try and be open by the 31st of this month.
Is that like 50% capacity? Are they doing?
Yes.
Or do they do less?
Obviously, no. It's gonna be less.
Is it 25?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Per auditorium, I think.
Well, I guess if you have 6 feet, how many seats is 6 feet?
I don't know. What gets me, though, is like they're going to still serve concessions. So to eat, you have to take your mask off. So I don't know. I might go, but I won't eat.
Yeah. I mean, well, you also have to use your hands because I don't really worry. I mean, it doesn't. If your hands are clean and you eat, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But that's the main thing is your hands being clean. Yeah, I mean, it's also like it fucking cuts off some of your peripheral vision, the mask. So I can't I mean, I also can't breathe. So even if I was doing it for 2 hours sitting, I wouldn't be able, like, I would have an asthma attack trying to do that. So it's not very practical.
I'd like to say that if they open, I wouldn't be one of those idiots who rushes out to go see a movie. But to be honest, going to the movies is one of my favorite things. I'm dying. I I want to go to the movies so bad. I mean, all the movies that have supposed to come out that we are missing. I mean, Mulan, the new Wonder Woman, the new Christopher Nolan film. Oh my God, just everything. And yeah, I'm sad. I'm very sad. I miss it a lot.
Yeah, I might, if their movies open up again, go see them. I'm always looking to get out of the house more, but it's just weighing that, like, because really the things I want to be doing is like doing improv again and stuff,
Of
like
course,
stuff that's gonna be so long from now.
Oh yeah, no,
like
I
teaching
mean,
kids.
yeah.
And stuff.
If I had to pick, like, if I could pick which comes back first, theater or movie theaters, obviously I'm picking theater.
Yeah.
I can live without going to the movies for longer. It
'Cause at
hurts,
least
but I can do it.
At least that can be done on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, improv is really not able to. It's not this. I mean, yeah, I guess a movie theater has its own charm, and that's fair. But yeah, it's not. It's definitely, sadly, the top of my list of things that I really, really, really want back are going to be like the bottom of the list of what will actually come back, which is very sad. But whatever. Oh well, on that happy note, we should probably get into our 2-episode checkup of how our blindness acuity is going.
Oh yes. Do
you want to go first?
Sure. Oh boy, I think I'm probably sitting at like a 21 to 2200. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going low because, you know, obviously the show is still about blind people. They're still, for the most part, trying to, you know, have those little flourishes and touches of blindness. The blind characters on the show are still capable. I'm still enjoying watching, so I haven't completely given up on it.
But yeah.
But you know, is it perfect? No. No.
Yeah. Well, as the perpetual honeywa or whatever, I'm gonna give it a. I think I'm trying to remember, because I'll have to like actually go and have it on the last episode. We'll have to do all the different ones, but I think I'm gonna give it 2020. I don't remember if I got down that low before, but I am kind of over it. I mean, it feels like, I think part of it is just watching the show. I don't see myself, ironically, in any of the characters. You feel unseen watching it, which seems really like they had one job, but whatever. It just feels so far from like what would make sense to me on a lot of different levels, and you know, blindness is a big one of them, but like I just feel very alienated from a lot of the characters, and I think that the show, it just feels so less interested in the blind characters than in the sighted characters. And it's like, this is the only show where you would think that wouldn't be true. Like, it's the one time, like, you would think, okay, well, maybe this is when they actually do want to center blind characters, and then they still don't. Like, and so that's just a really sad thing. And it does make me want to, like, see, a show that maybe doesn't have any sighted characters at all. Like, you know, maybe that would be really nice, because then maybe we could actually focus on the blind characters, because I feel like you're just never really supposed to empathize with them. Like, it's really like about the sighted characters, and you know, it also doesn't feel like it passes the like blindness Bechdel test ever, which is like, you have so many fucking blind characters and you can't get like them to like talk about a non-blind character, like another blind character.
So wait, blindness Bechdel is two blind characters talking about another blind character?
Yeah, like, or no, not necessarily another blind character, but like talking about something other than a sighted person. Oh. Which, I mean, I'm sure it does, but it doesn't. Sometimes it does not feel like it, like, because it's like so much of the focus is put on the sighted characters, and you always feel a bit estranged from all the blind characters in a way that's like it's really just the show really wants you to empathize with like Kafun and Haniwa and kind of question what Jer Morel is, and all the characters are obsessed with all of them. And then
I think the show also has empathy for Baba Voss, though, and Magra and Paris. I mean, these are all characters that we're supposed to care about.
Yeah, we're supposed to care about them, but they are very focused on sighted characters.
Well, yeah, because I mean, hey, that I hate to break it to you, but that's the plot of the show.
I know, but that's what I'm taking issue with. I think that like, I think that there's like they could have a lot more. I mean, I think you could technically do a show with sighted characters where it wasn't all about them, but I mean, I think it is concise. So, you know, I think you're right. That was the main idea of the show. And that's what the writers are interested in, is actually what the sighted characters are going to be like. And I think that, I mean, because when I hear the plot of the show, I think about, blind characters witch hunting sighted characters. That makes a lot of sense. Like, I can understand why these blind people would feel threatened by these like other characters, and I understand the psychology of that, and I'd be really interested to see how their society works, and then how this kind of threatens that society, and how there's an importance of blindness, and that's an important cultural part of their life. And I never think, what would the sighted characters be like? Like, who cares? It's like everyone, but you just throw one of everyone in the show, and then you get all the cool stuff around that, the boring stuff. And it's like, no, the show did the opposite. It was like, what would it be like to live in a world of blind people, and how hard would that be, and how could you like shoot them like from a mountain? And it's like, no, that's not that stuff would never even occur to me in a million years to be interested in. And I feel like the show is just completely from the sighted perspective, and that's, you know, it's a real bummer, because it's just like we're very underrepresented, and like there's very few shows with us in them, and we're also, there's a lot of and so much is problematic, like in where blind characters are. It's still, there's a lot of problematic stuff. Like, it is very amazing when you get to find good representation. And so when you have a group that's like that, to have something that's just so careless and like kind of invokes our identity without actually trying to center us in any way, it feels just kind of icky. So
yeah, they take the parts they want and then leave the rest.
Right. And they're not trying to kind of make it be a perspective of blindness at all. Like, it really is just like, what would it be like to be a sighted person with a bunch of blind people? That's really the whole idea of the show. But yeah, so that's kind of, I think I'm going down, and they gotta like, they gotta trust each other. Come on, guys. And they gotta be more trustworthy too. I mean, like, that's also part of it. It's not just that people don't trust each other, they're also very untrustworthy. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah,
cool. Well, 2 episodes left, and then we'll have the first season wrapped up.
Yes, it's exciting. We'll get to do some finishing thoughts. And yeah, and then before we do that though, what are we doing next week?
We are watching the 2017 thriller Blind. Yes. Starring our very own Alec Baldwin as a blind man who is introduced to a pharmaceutical representative's wife. We just literally watched the trailer.
We'll see what it's about. We don't fully know.
We'll figure it out. We Googled terrible blind movies, and this is what came up.
Yeah, because I needed this after Wait Until Dark was a good portrayal of blindness, and I was very mad.
And not gonna lie, as soon as we saw that Alec Baldwin is blind, like that's sold.
I'm so freaking excited.
This
and
is
it's
so
streaming
terrible.
on Hulu, so you don't have to spend any money.
No, you can watch this horrible movie with us.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Maybe it'll be the best movie ever.
I doubt it.
And we'll love it. We haven't seen it yet, so we'll find out.
Totally doubt it.
But, it's a cliffhanger. If you want to find out, you're going to have to tune in next week to see if this movie from 2017, just called Blind, with Alec Baldwin playing a blind character, is good. And good for blind people.
Way to go, us. Yay.
I'm very excited.
Me too.
And that just leaves us to our last segment, which is just the thing that we have in our lives that we like.
What's making us, what's fun right now? Yeah. What's making us fun? What are we
What's
having
making
fun
us fun?
with?
Yeah.
What's making us fun?
I'll go first.
Okay.
We can switch off like the rating versus like the blindness cutie. Like we can each go first for one of those if we remember. So this week I am bringing the Netflix TV show Sex Education, which I just finished the second season, came out recently. Actually, the first episode is like the plot of it is that the entire school thinks that you can catch chlamydia through breathing, and so everyone's wearing face masks, and came out in January, and it was all filmed before then, so I was like, oh wow, that was very odd that this happened completely accidentally, because it would have been filmed, it was like the beginning of the first episode of the second season, so that's a weird coincidence of the world, but but other than that, it is a TV show that's about high schoolers for the most part. The main character is a high school student whose mom is a sex therapist, and it's kind of it starts out very much like Charlie Bartlett, if anyone's seen that film, which I loved Charlie Bartlett. So he kind of is like giving people like sex advice from his high school, and then it kind of just from there develops, but it I think the second season it really kind of gains momentum, and I really like I think there's more of a focus on it's English, so I think the sex education aspect of it is probably more in line than in the US, but I don't know, I feel like with Me Too there's a lot of like, just I think a lot of us are just like, oh no, how do we like ever be cool with sex again? Like there's a sense of like we're having a reckoning on how important it is to like center survivors and stuff, but there's not always that room for like kind of just the more messiness of all of it. And I think that the show strikes a pretty good balance, and in the second season we see like characters like both dealing with uncomfortable sexual situations, but not in a way that feels gratuitous at all. Like there was a few moments of it where it was just like kind of I don't know, it like actually made me cry, and there's like the solidarity of like women experiencing these things, and like, but then also just a lot about just figuring out sex and not really knowing what the fuck you're doing because you're in high school, but yeah, so I've been really enjoying that show. I mean, I'm not anymore because I finished the second season, and it's probably not going to come back anytime soon, but
well, I have something that might tide you over. Not my actual recommendation, but it's also a BBC show on Netflix called Chewing Gum.
Oh yeah, I have not actually seen Chewing Gum. It's one of the ones on my list.
I have. It's really good, and it sounds like this would be right up your alley. But
Yeah.
I haven't seen Sex Education, so I want to check that out.
It's good, and I think it is actually a Netflix show. It's not like
Nice.
the BBC, but it's
gotcha.
like English, but an actual
right.
Netflix show.
Yeah. Check out Chewing Gum. I think you'd like it.
Okay, I will. But yeah, Sex Education.
Right.
Check it out.
Awesome. So mine is actually also a TV show as well.
We always pick the same medium somehow.
Well, I almost picked music, and then I was like, I really want to talk about this other one. So mine is streaming on HBO Max. The season finale just wrapped up last week, so you can watch the entire first season on HBO Max. The show is called Legendary.
Oh.
It is in the same vein as shows like well, I can't say it's in the same vein. It's in the same universe as shows like RuPaul's Drag Race or We're Here, which is also on HBO, which is the one I need to watch next, according to my good friend. Legendary deals with the ballroom scene.
Oh.
So this is like Paris is Burning.
Right,
or
of course.
or shows like
isn't
Pose.
like Paris
Yes.
is Burning?
Yeah, it's what Pose
It's
is.
just, we're having a resurgence of
Yeah. I love it. Pose is also a great show too. You should watch that. This show is called Legendary, and it is it's 8 houses that are competing to be the superior house and win $100K.
So it's kind of like Harry Potter meets Paris is Burning. No, just kidding.
No, not at all. Like, yeah.
Well, their house is competing.
Well, sure, yeah. But these houses are competing in. So each episode is a different ball. So they'll have like the Capes and Tights ball, which was the superhero ball. They had the Wild Wild West ball. They had the Atlantis ball.
Nice.
The Intergalactic ball. Like they're just all kinds of different really cool things. And each house comes up with crazy outfits and different performances, and they have to walk the runway, walking like different categories like Vogue or body or face or hands, or all of these different really neat, amazing, intricate performances. And I mean, this stuff has been going on since the 80s, since ballroom, since, well, I don't know if I can't say if ballroom culture started, like absolutely started in the 80s, but
Was it the 70s?
I don't know. This is kind of my introduction to ballroom, basically. But it's hosted by an amazing not DJ, because he's kind of like the master of ceremonies. Deshawn, he's the master of ceremonies, and he's super cool. And they have a panel of judges, obviously, because they have to judge these houses. And it's super fun, and it's different, and it makes me happy. And yeah.
It's a fictional show, right? It's not, or is it?
No, this is a competition show.
Oh, it's a competition show.
Yeah,
Okay.
real money. Yeah,
Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, real money, real people. Yeah.
I see. So it's not like Pose in that way.
No.
I thought it was a similar.
Yeah, no, similar.
It's not a period piece.
It's not a period piece. No, similar type of show, but it's not a period piece. No.
See, okay.
This is like 2020 ballroom realness.
I see. Okay. So I guess it is probably closer to RuPaul then.
Yeah, that's what I thought going in, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna love this, and I do. But RuPaul and this show are actually two completely different animals.
Yeah, I mean, I guess isn't RuPaul probably like the McDonald's hamburger of like?
Well,
I mean, that's not. I'm sorry, that sounds very pejorative.
No. I get what you're saying, but I wouldn't use that comparison. RuPaul's Drag Race focuses more on the performers themselves, the outfits, the drama, the little challenges that they have to do. Whereas Legendary, you're focusing more on the performance aspect of everything.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, so RuPaul, because I have to admit, I haven't seen a lot of RuPaul at all.
Okay. The seasons 1 through 6 are streaming on Hulu.
Oh, I don't like. Oh gosh, yeah. No, I'm very behind on all reality TV. As part of the problem so I'm like Great British Bake Off, and all those are kind of ones that I've missed somewhat. But I didn't realize that RuPaul wasn't about the performance as much. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, okay. It's interesting because, like, yes, RuPaul is about performance, because I mean, in every challenge the queens are performing, you know, and they're walking the runway, and they are performing. But in RuPaul's Drag Race, I feel that you get to know each and every one of the queens a little bit better than you do on Legendary. Legendary focuses a lot more on the group, the house as a unit. Like
so it's like a team sport.
Exactly. Bingo. Whereas Drag Race is more of a solo.
I see. Well, then Legendary sounds more fun, because anytime you listen to a C episode, I'm all for collaboration and working as a team. I love watching that. So
then I think you like Legendary a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's like hitting the joy button over and over and over again. It's just really fun. And that theme song, will get stuck in your head, let me tell you.
Oh my gosh. Is it as bad as Unbreakable? That's the one theme song that's goes through my head all the time.
No, I can pull it up though.
Legend, statement, star. Said you wanna be a legend. Legend, statement, star.
There's more once they hit the chorus, but I mean, it's great, and it will get in your head. And if you enjoyed that song, and
if you want to hear the chorus
and bopping around, yeah, you can find this song on Spotify or iTunes or whatever you use. But if you enjoyed hearing that song, you'll like the show.
Nice. I'm excited. That sounds like a whole lot of fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. Cool. We did another episode. Go us.
We did it. We made it.
I know. In these quarantine times, you can't take anything for granted.
Oh,
you can't take your ability to make a podcast episode for granted. It's all super. Everything is impressive. Okay, our theme song is by Lucia Fasano. Our Twitter is White Cane Pod. Our Instagram is Citizen White Cane, and our Facebook is also Citizen White Cane. You can send us an email to citizenwhitecanepod@gmail.com. And if you would like to leave us a voice message, Do you think that the sea is not going to come back because Apple TV will just disappear from the earth? Are you a Kofun or Haniwa?
Are you the long lost princess of a dynasty?
Yeah. And does your family know about that? Do you think that you are a sighted person and just want to impregnate as many people as possible to spread sight around the world? Is that your goal? And if that is, like, I mean, you can leave us a message, but it's not exactly our ideal listenership. That's another matter. But any of those things, or if you have a really stupid movie that you want to make my day and request, you can do that. Or if you have a really cool indie movie that's a great portrayal of blind people want to make Melissa's day,
Yes,
you
please.
can send us that too. You can also email us that as well. But you can, everything in the show notes, link to the voice message, and tell a friend about the podcast. We're still gaining listenership, so please tell everyone you know ever. They'll be really annoyed. And rate and review and subscribe. Those are all great things to do to a podcast. And we'll be back here next week for Blind.
Yes. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Listen